Happy New Year to those who celebrate. I'm very excited to show you today what I got for Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm such a little kid about it, and the thing that I love most is getting books, new books. That is one of my favorite things about Christmas. The thing I love most about Christmas is watching slightly horrifying yet nostalgic Christmas cartoons. But getting new books is very much up there. Thank you in advance to my co-host Lyle the Pitbull for providing some much needed dog noises in the background of this entire video. Is it a dog? Is it a pig searching for truffles? The world may never know. He's playing with his ball. He's so cute. Today I have a very exciting selection to show you. Me and my partner wanted to keep Christmas pretty easy this year as far as shopping. So what we did is we each had $15 to spend on whatever we wanted at the Friends of the Berkeley Public Library store. Now, $15 at a bookstore will usually get you a book if you also have like 95 cents. But the Friends of the Berkeley Library store is incredible. They have this amazing selection of very old books that are mostly donated, and all of the books are like $2. I got a book, like a novel, like one I've been meaning to read, for like 50 cents. Literally 50 cents. It was insane. So I'm going to show you what $15 got me for my Christmas book haul and just share a little bit about why I picked the books that I picked. Super excited. We're going to start with an absolute bop. This is Mark Twain's short stories. So it's all of Mark Twain's short stories and some of his personal essays in a 1-volume edition. There's the man himself. Sorry for the blur. I can't hold the book up too long to get it to focus because I'm afraid the book will disintegrate in my hands. It's very old. This book was $2. So this book is from 1928. It looks like. Yes. So the original printing of this series, it looks like, was started in the 1870s, but it looks like this book was printed about 100 years ago. This was $2. Was $2, and it's got so many stories in it that I've been meaning to read, so when I saw it I had to just snatch it up. I just also love books that are 100 years old because so many people have touched this book and read this book, and I want to be part of that great chain of humanity. So there's one that I was super excited about right out of the gate. I know phrases. This other one I found was also $2. It is Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. That's what Lyle thinks about it. It needs some repair, but it is also like 100 flipping years old, and it's beautiful looking. Super pretty. It's got the cool frontispiece here. There we go. A lot of the books I picked are going to need a little bit of repair because they're very old and they're falling apart before I can sit down and enjoy reading them. I'm curious about this book because I feel like Ivanhoe is a book that it's referenced a lot by older writers. It's a book that's used to be considered part of the canon. If you were well read at all, you will have read Ivanhoe, and then it kind of just dropped off the map. It's not like it's an unknown, but it's definitely not something that people are regularly reading or assigning in classrooms, even I think at the college level. As far as I know, if this is different than your experience, please let me know. But I feel like it's interesting how Ivanhoe has kind of dropped out of cultural awareness, and I want to go in and read it and maybe try to figure out why that is. Why is it less popular than it definitely was in the books I've read from the 1800s? A lot of times they will reference reading it. People reference discussing it even into the 1900s. So very interested to see why Scott fell off, I guess. The next is another short story collection. I think maybe it's even the same imprint because it's the same look as the Mark Twain ones. Guy Maupassant, bunch of French short stories because he's French, so that makes sense. But it's all of his short stories in 1 volume. I really like him, and I had been looking to read more by him. This is also 100 years old. 10 volumes in one. There he is. Look at him with that kick-ass mustache. We love a good mustache. And I'm very excited. He wrote one of my favorite short stories, which is Little Ball of Fat, Boule de Suif. Forgive my pronunciation of French. And also my pronunciation of English. So I'm very excited to read him. That short story, Little Ball of Fat, is really moving. It's about a wagon of people who are traveling during wartime. I guess it's kind of like the movie Stagecoach, because it's a wagon of people who are from different like socioeconomic levels, and it includes a prostitute. You get insight into the different people's characters by how they treat and interact with the prostitute, especially when she is put up against a very particular moral dilemma. The other thing I'm really excited about, look at these hefty boys. Like I said with the Ivanhoe, I'm interested in how the canon has evolved over time and what books people considered important at different times. So kind of a historiography, but more with literary criticism. What would you need to have read in 1968 to be considered well read? What were the classics? What did you need to have read in 1813? Jane Austen's period, to be considered well read? What were the classics, and how were those choices justified? So one of the ways that I think is really cool to get insight into that is to look at something like the Norton Anthology of English Literature. So this is the 3rd edition. It's from 1976. In the future, I plan on writing a historical fiction based in 1971 about an English major. I think it's a very interesting year. It's an extremely interesting period. So as part of my research, I will be gathering academic college English lit texts that could tell me more about what people were reading and thinking at the time. This is from 76, so it's a little bit after, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that different from the 2nd edition, and taking a look at what's included in the 2nd edition as compared to the 3rd edition, I think will be really illuminating. So I'm excited to read this. I just patted the book on the desk and it shook everything. So I'm excited about these hefty boys. It also makes me kind of nostalgic and feel like a kid again, because I was a fucking nerd. And before college, I got one of these anthologies. It wasn't the Norton, I think it was a different one. And I just started reading through it because I wanted to go to college with a fairly good idea of what's considered great literature in the English language. And so I started with the most recent copy of one of these massive anthologies. So it makes me feel a little nostalgic to be going back to one of these anthologies. I think it'll be also interesting to look at this 3rd edition as opposed to the most recent edition and see how the breadth and depth of the choices has, I'm assuming, improved. We shall see. I'm assuming there's more women and more people who are not white. We shall see. Speaking of literary criticism and history thereof, something similarly, this book is actually from the 60s, and it's called Victorian Prose, A Guide to Research. Now, what is interesting to me, and I didn't realize this, is the 60s were a period of revitalized interest in Victorian authors for English studies. And it made me start to think, why? Why is that the period? Most people in high school got a Victorian book assigned to them at some point, but there's so many other English periods that we barely even look at. But everybody remembers struggling through something from the 1800s. And it seems like it was the 1960s in English literary studies that really brought that back and made us look again at the Victorians. This is just my initial impression from the little bit of this book that I've read so far and just kind of thinking about it. So we'll see. It doesn't seem like there was ever a period where people stopped reading the Victorians, but I'll be interested to see what this guide to research from the 60s shows me. All of these books on the desk are shaking the camera every time I move them, which is amazing. Sorry about that. The last 2 books are novels that I actually picked up from the 50-cent section. 50 cents for a whole book. Nuts. I love it. I'm here for it. Highly recommend. If you've got any friends of the public library stores near you, they're usually volunteer run and they have great prices on very cool books that have been donated. I'll show you this one. It's called A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. It's by Dave Eggers. Dave Eggers is one of the guys who started McSweeney's, which is a publisher and periodical that is hilarious and creative and really out there without being just pretentious. They just make good, fun stuff. I usually think their stuff is really funny, so I'm very excited to see what he did here. It's called A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius, but I actually saw a lot of reviews that say, like, the title is a joke, but it's actually 100% correct. So I'm excited to see how he pulled that off, and if I agree that he pulled that off, but it seems like it's going to be really funny. So for 50 cents, I will give that sucker a shot. I'm very excited. And the last one is Bless Me Ultima by Rodolfo Anaya. The New York Times says probably the best known and most respected contemporary Chicano fiction. I've heard this book referenced before. I've studied some Chicano lit. I feel weird saying that because, like, that's such a huge segment of writers. But it is an area of English literature that I usually enjoy. And I remember hearing this book referenced as one of the, like, first, I guess, literary acclaimed books in the Chicano lit tradition. So I'm very excited to read it. Seems pretty short. Seems like it's going to be pretty darn good. We will see if it holds up. I bet it will. And I'm very excited. If you have read any of these books that I showed you, but the last two are most likely that you've read them, just because the other ones are really stinking old. Like I said, nobody really reads Ivanhoe anymore, but if you've read any of these books that I showed you, I would love to hear your thoughts on them, and perhaps your jealousy that I got them for $2. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited for 2025. I'm going to try to put out a video every month. That is a less ambitious schedule than I was trying to do last year, and I'm hoping in that way to actually stick to it, because I also have other writing that I'm doing. I am a novelist. I will have a book coming out in a couple of months, and hopefully another book at the end of the year. Stay tuned for more bookish videos. I also do content on classic cartoons and some cultural analysis. I've got a video on Bugs Bunny that will be out eventually, but the whole thing got deleted last year in a horrible, horrible accident, so I'm going to have to start over. But that will be coming to life. I am not giving up. Thanks so much for joining me. I will probably do, for next month's video, more books that I got for Christmas, or the $10 haul that we got from the friends at the public library the first time we went. And I'll do that as like a tour of my bookshelves, because I already put those books away. And now I have to put these books away because my partner is tired of them sitting on a TV tray in our living room so that I can stare at them and just like feel happy book thoughts. I don't know why it's just pleasant. This is the like visual representation of how I feel internally with so many books. It's just like, yes. I hope you had a lovely holiday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back next month with more things. If you are interested in seeing some of the videos that I mentioned, make sure you subscribe, because we've got more lovely book content and silly cartoon content coming out this year. So make sure you like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you, Lyle, for being the best thing about this video. He's so darn cute. Say bye, Lyle. Bye.